he was supposed to be the darling of the right, that if he cozied up to the Koch brothers enough that he would be the guy. Turns out that Scott Walker's policies, his direction, are wrong for America, and people all over are figuring that out. Joining us now, International Steelworkers International President Leo Gerard. Mr. Gerard, good to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Ed.
What your thoughts on the unraveling of Scott Walker's campaign? It may have worked politically, strongholding people in Wisconsin, but nationally it seems to be falling flat. Your thoughts?
Well, my first thought was really happy that it couldn't happen to a better person, put it that way. The fact of the matter is that his agenda is bad for Wisconsin. If we look at what's going on in Wisconsin now, it's got amongst the lowest job creation. It's got people falling out of the education system where the University of Wisconsin was once one of the best. So all of the things that would be a measurement of how well you've done as a governor or a politician are going the wrong way for him. And so he tries to recover by going to one of the most highly unionized regions in the country, Las Vegas, and saying that if he's elected, he's going to bring in national right to work. If he's elected, he's going to remove the bargaining power of public sector workers. If he's elected, there'll be no minimum wage. I mean, all the stuff that would be poison for the economy. And I think American public are seeing that this guy's an empty suit.
He is an empty suit. What would that? These are radical positions, unlike any other candidate that's out there, at least stating these positions. They may believe it, but they're not stating the position the way he is. It's as radical as it gets when it comes to anti-labor. So what would the world be like without the National Labor Relations Board? And, of course, he wants to abolish that.
Well, there'd be no way to bring about any fair hearing of a dispute that involved the labor movement. And the National Labor Relations Board, its job is to be a fair adjudicator of divisions. And the National Labor Relations Board is also an adjudicator of what would be deemed unfair labor practices, what would be deemed as unfair practices when you're trying to negotiate a collective agreement, unfair practices when you're trying to organize a facility. It's supposed to be a fair adjudicator, and the labor movement has never asked for it to be on its side. We've never said the labor movement that the National Labor Relations Board should be on our side. What we said is we want fairness, and the problem for a lot of the right wingers is that when we get fairness, they feel like they're losing the advantage because they want it to be unfair in their directions, as it was during the Bush years, as it was during the years before that with Daddy Bush, as well as Shrub Bush, as they called him. And Ed, there's a point I want to make, and it's a challenge. I've challenged people now for almost 20 years to show me an advanced industrial democracy anywhere on the planet that doesn't have a labor movement.
Mm-hmm.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
And if you go over the last 35 years, when there's been overthrow of regimes of the left or the right that were extremist, they were brought together, whether it was Solidarność in Poland that helped bring down that regime, or whether it was overthrowing the military dictatorship in Brazil. It was brought about by working people and students, and what they wanted was a free, independent labor movement. So Walker is actually challenging history and challenging democracy. There is no democracy without a free labor movement anywhere on the planet.
And so he's inviting social unrest with these radical policies is what he's doing. And it's very capable in this country, as we've seen with civil rights in the 60s, no doubt about it.
Look, I actually think that there's a broader movement than just the labor movement that see that what the right wing, including Walker, are doing to the economy. Mm-hmm. We see the level of income inequality. We see that the corporate CEO pay system is skewered, that there's a study's come out now from Harvard that shows that of the Fortune 500 companies, almost 460 of them spent the first 53% of their income as corporations buying back their own stock.
Yeah.
Another 37% of their income paid out in dividends. That means that it leaves about 9% for research and development, for marketing, for wages, for putting something away for the future. That system is broken. And CEOs, the most recent one, and we wrote about it, the CEO of United, he knew he was going to be in trouble for the deal he cooked with the guy from Bridgegate in New Jersey. A few months before he was going to resign, he bought $3 billion, three with a billion with a B, dollars of United stock, drove the stock price up, which lines his pockets, and then he's forced to resign. Don't tell me that wasn't the scam.
So these policies clearly are contributing to the income divide, to the haves and the have-nots of this society. And when you get someone like Scott Walker who is ginning up and lining the pockets, getting his pockets lined by people who support this kind of stuff, it creates a political divide unlike anything we've ever seen. The good news is the people are figuring this guy out.
Yeah, I think that you're hitting it right on the nail. And in addition to that, if you can do historical analysis. It doesn't have to be just today. Scott Walker is playing against or for, depending on which way you look at it, historical analysis. As there's been an attack on the labor movement since Ronald Reagan, and since they've made it harder and harder for workers to be represented and to negotiate collective agreements and to be organized, you see the growth in productivity and you see the flatness in income. As you see that happening, you see the growth in income inequality. And that's because of, like Bernie Sanders has said, the top 0.1% of 1% are garnering almost 90% of all the real wealth that's created in the country. The system can't be sustained that way. You can't have the kind of open, democratic, consumer-driven system if you starve the consumers.
Leo Gerard, always a pleasure. Great to have you with us. President, Steelworkers International Union. We'll do it again. Thanks, Leo. Speaking truth to power, no question about it. Thanks so much.